blind orphan with nothing to her name was quietly guided straight into a snare until the Apache saw the truth and chose action over hesitation. What she never knew, what Mae Calder could not have imagined, even on the darkest day of her life, was that she wasn't walking into a simple betrayal. She was stepping into a carefully engineered plot, one strong enough to deceive an entire town. And deep within that forest, a single decision would either shatter two lives or become the beginning of a future no one yet understood. Before the story continues, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Arizona Territory, 1865. A young woman who relied more on sound than sight was about to discover that treachery often wears the mask of family, and that the man who witnessed her abandonment, a warrior with every reason to turn away, would soon face a choice step into danger or leave her to fate. Mae Calder had lived in darkness for 7 years, yet color still lived in her memory. She remembered the wide blue Arizona sky at dawn, the golden sway of wheat fields in summer, the warm brown of her mother's eyes, and the silver threaded through her father's beard. She also remembered the fever, the burning sickness that took both her parents when she was 12, the same fever that stole her sight but spared her life. At 19, Mae lived by sound, by texture, by scent. She moved through her narrow bedroom in her cousin's house by counting steps, 7. From bed to door, 12 from door to window. Morning revealed itself through a rooster's cry and the warmth of sunlight on her face. What Mae could not see was the resentment burning in Ruth Calder's eyes each time she looked at her. Ruth was Mae's cousin, the daughter of her mother's older sister. When Mae's parents died, leaving behind a valuable 120-acre property with a natural spring, Ruth's parents were appointed guardians. The land could not be claimed until Mae turned 21. The will left no room for interpretation. Until then, Ruth's father managed the property, collecting rent from tenant farmers and pocketing the steady income. Mae had just 2 weeks left until her 21st birthday, 2 weeks until everything became hers. 2 weeks until Ruth's family lost the money they had lived on for 7 years. Ruth had no intention of letting that happen. "Mae, dear," Ruth said sweetly as she entered the room that morning, her voice smooth as syrup. "I brought your breakfast." Mae turned toward the sound hands, lifting automatically. "Thank you, Ruth. You're very kind." Kind. If only Mae could see the curl of Ruth's lip. "I try," Ruth replied, setting the tray on Mae's lap, with just enough force to slosh the tea. "After all, your family, even if you are, a burden we never asked for." The words were light, almost playful, but sharp beneath the surface. Mae had learned long ago that Ruth's cruelty always arrived wrapped in softness. "I won't be in your way much longer," Mae said quietly, touching the cup to test its heat. "In 2 weeks, I'll move on to my property. I'll hire help. You won't have to look after me anymore." Ruth laughed, a brittle sound like glass breaking. "Manage a farm, Mae, you're blind. You can't even dress yourself properly." She leaned closer. "Look at you. Your buttons are crooked." Mae's hand flew to her blouse. Ruth was right. Again. "I'll learn," Mae said, lifting her chin. "I'm not helpless." "Of course not," Ruth replied, patting her hand with false pity. "Now eat. You have a visitor coming this afternoon." Mae's heart skipped. "A visitor? Who? Elias Boone? You remember him, don't you? Your sweetheart from before the fever." Mae felt her cheeks warm with hope and embarrassment. Elias. She hadn't heard his name in months. Elias Boone was the neighboring farmer's son. They had grown up together, played together as children. After Mae's parents died, and she moved in with Ruth's family, Elias promised he wouldn't forget her, and he hadn't. For 7 years, he visited, often bringing flowers she could smell but not see, reading newspapers aloud, talking about his plans for his father's land. 3 months earlier, he had asked her to marry him. "When you turn 21 and inherit the property," Elias had said, holding her hands, "marry me, Mae." We'll join the farms, build a life together. I don't care that you can't see you're the bravest person I know." Mae had said yes through tears. For the first time since losing her sight, she felt seen not as a burden, but as a woman. Then 1 month ago, Elias stopped coming. I thought, Mae hesitated. I thought Elias wasn't coming anymore. "Oh, he's just been busy," Ruth replied airily. "But he asked me to tell you he'll be here today at 2 o'clock. He has something important to discuss." After Ruth left the room, Mae Calder could hardly keep still. Excitement buzzed through her fingers as she spent nearly an hour preparing, carefully braiding her dark hair, checking every button, twice smoothing the fabric of her best dress until it lay just right. When the front door opened exactly at 2 o'clock, her heart leapt. She heard Ruth's cheerful greeting, then footsteps crossing the floor. Elias Boone's footsteps, she knew them by rhythm and weight, moving toward the parlor. "Mae is in here," Ruth said. Then came a pause. "But Elias, could I speak with you for a moment first? Just briefly." In private, Mae frowned. That was strange. Still she waited. Her hands rested tightly folded in her lap, pulse racing. The private conversation stretched on longer than expected. She caught fragments of low voices, then Ruth's sharp, pleased laugh. A faint clink followed the sound of glasses being set down. At last the parlor door opened. "Mae, dear," Ruth called smoothly. "Elias is here to see you." Mae stood turning toward the sound of his steps. "Elias, I'm so glad you came. I've missed. Who are you?" The word struck her like a blow to the chest. It was Elias's voice, but wrong, thick, unsteady. "Elias, it's me," Mae said quickly. "It's Mae. I don't—" He hesitated. "Do I know you?" Her hands began to shake. "Elias, we're engaged. You asked me to marry you 3 months ago. You said when I turned 21, he laughed, but the sound was hollow, forced. "I'm not engaged to you. I'm engaged to Ruth." The room spun. "What?" Mae whispered. "Elias and I are getting married," Ruth said gently. False sorrow dripping from every word. "Oh, Mae, I thought you knew. I thought you—" "He proposed to me 2 weeks ago. We're in love." "No," Mae said, shaking her head. "No, Elias. You promised." "You said I think you're mistaken," Elias replied. His voice sounded distant, as if rising from deep underwater. "Ruth and I have been courting for months. I hardly know you." Mae reached out blindly, desperate to touch his face to understand. Her fingers brushed his arm. He jerked away. "Don't touch me." The rejection cut deeper than any blade. "Elias, please," Mae begged, her voice breaking. "I don't understand. What happened? What changed?" "Nothing changed," Ruth said calmly. "You imagined things that weren't there. It's common for blind people to confuse kindness with affection. Elias was simply polite and you misunderstood." "That's not true," Mae cried. "Elias, you held my hands. You told me you loved me. You said my blindness didn't matter." Mae Ruth snapped, her tone suddenly sharp. "You're embarrassing yourself, and you're making Elias uncomfortable. Apologize." Mae flinched. Years of being dependent, of being treated as a burden, had trained her to obey without question. "I'm sorry," she whispered, tears sliding down her face. "I'm sorry for the confusion." "That's better," Ruth said, slipping her arm possessively through Elias's. "Now Elias and I have wedding matters to discuss. Mae, why don't you go to your room? You look tired." Mae fled. She stumbled up the stairs, counting each step through her sobs, and collapsed onto her bed. None of it made sense. She couldn't make it make sense. What Mae did not know, what she could not have known, was that for 6 weeks Ruth had been slipping laudanum into Elias Boone's tea. The drug clouded his thoughts, softened his will. Slowly stripping away his memories and replacing them with lies, Ruth fed him day by day. What Mae didn't know was that Ruth never intended to marry Elias at all. She only wanted to take him away to hurt Mae, to prove her worthless. And what Mae especially did not know was that when she turned 21 in just 2 weeks, Ruth had no intention of letting her live long enough to claim her inheritance. The following morning, Ruth entered Mae's room early. "Get up," she said briskly. "We're going for a walk." Mae sat up confused. "A walk? Where to the forest?" "You need to learn independence, Mae. In 2 weeks you'll be on your own. You need to know how to navigate without relying on anyone." Mae's chest tightened with unease. "I don't want excuses," Ruth Calder cut in sharply. "Get dressed. We leave in 10 minutes." For the next 10 days, Ruth took Mae Calder into the forest every single morning. She drilled her on one exact route from the house past the old oak across the creek by way of the wooden bridge, then through the open stretch marked by flat stones. Mae committed every detail to memory. 37 steps from the porch to the oak tree, 12 more to the water. The bridge held 5 narrow planks beneath her feet. 40 steps across the clearing. She learned the land by touch, the scrape of rough bark, the cool smoothness of stone, the spongy moss clinging to the north side of trees. Mae counted relentlessly, building a careful map inside her mind. "You're improving," Ruth said on the 10th morning, approval coloring her voice. "Tomorrow is the final test. You'll walk the path alone. I'll stay back just to be sure you've learned." Mae felt a small, cautious swell of pride. Maybe Ruth was right. Maybe she was becoming independent. Maybe life would finally change once she had a home of her own. That night, Mae packed a modest bundle with the few belongings she owned. In 2 weeks, she would turn 21. The land would be hers. She would start over. She would endure the heartbreak Elias Boone had left behind. She would learn how to live on her own. It never crossed her mind that she might not live to see that birthday. The 11th morning dawned colder than usual. Mae dressed carefully, pulling on her wool coat and gloves. "Ready?" Ruth asked brightly. "Yes," Mae answered, gripping her walking stick. They set out. Mae counted by instinct now. 37 steps to the oak, 12 to the creek. She stopped. "Wait!" Her brow tightened. "The creek sounds wrong. Too loud. Too close." "Ruth," Mae called. "This doesn't feel right." "Keep moving," Ruth replied from behind her. "Trust yourself." Mae hesitated, then obeyed. She found the bridge, but something was off. The boards felt narrower beneath her feet, the gaps uneven. Ruth Mae said carefully, "I think we're not on the right path." "You're fine," Ruth replied. "Keep going." Mae crossed slowly. Where the clearing should have been, there were no flat stones, only thick brush tugging at her skirt. "Ruth, something's wrong. We should go back." "You're just nervous," Ruth said calmly. "Sit down for a moment. I'll fetch some water from the creek." Mae lowered herself onto a fallen log, her heart hammering. The air felt different here, sharper, untamed. "Ruth," she called. No answer. "Ruth." Silence. Mae stood, fear tightening in her chest. "Ruth, where are you?" "This isn't funny." Only wind stirred the trees. Water murmured somewhere nearby, and then understanding hit her like ice. Ruth had left her, led her somewhere unfamiliar, and abandoned her. Ruth Mae screamed, "Please come back." Her voice echoed back at her, empty and cruel. She tried to retrace her steps, but without her markers, she was lost. Branches tore at her sleeves. Roots caught her boots. Bark scraped her palms raw. After an hour of stumbling, she collapsed, shaking and breathless. Then she heard it. A low growl. Another. Then more. The scent reached her next, musky, wild, unmistakable. Wolves. Mae's breathing turned ragged. She couldn't see them, but she heard them circling, closing in. She seized a fallen branch and held it out like a weapon. "Stay back," she shouted, terror cracking her voice. The growls deepened. Paws shifted through dry leaves. Hot breath hung in the air. She swung blindly. The branch struck something. A sharp yelp answered, but there were more. Too many. Please, Mae whispered, tears streaking down her face. Someone help me. The circle tightened. Mae pressed her back against a tree, hands trembling, and waited to die. Thoughts of her parents surfaced. Elias's betrayal. Ruth's cold cruelty. No one ever wanted me, she said aloud, hollow. Ruth was right. I'm just a burden. Her grip loosened. Maybe this is better. Then an arrow sliced past her ear and struck flesh with a brutal thud. A wolf cried out once, then fell silent. More arrows cut through the air. Something large tore through the trees at terrifying speed. Shouts rang out in a language Mae Calder didn't recognize. The wolves broke and fled, their fear sharp and frantic. Then firm hands seized Mae's shoulders, steadying her as her knees buckled beneath her. You're safe, a deep voice said in clear English, touched with an accent. I've got you. Mae's hands lifted instinctively, reaching for the face of the man who held her. It was the only way she knew how to see. Her fingers traced strong cheekbones, a solid jaw, long hair pulled back tight. Who are you? She gasped. Koda, he answered. Apache. Are you hurt? I don't think so. I'm blind, I can't see. My cousin. She left me here. I was lost. And the wolves were close, Koda said firmly. You're safe now. I promise. Mae broke down, sobbing. This stranger, this Apache warrior who owed her nothing, had stepped into death without hesitation to save her. And in that instant something inside her shattered heart began just barely to mend. Koda had been tracking possible intruders for nearly 2 hours when he heard the scream. At 31, he was among the tribe's finest scouts. Patient, sharp-eyed, lethal when needed. He was also the only son of Nakoa, the chief raised to lead one day. That morning, Koda and 3 other warriors spotted smoke drifting near the edge of their land. Smoke meant settlers. Settlers often meant trouble. They moved carefully, weapons ready. But when Koda heard a woman scream, raw with terror, followed by the unmistakable growl of wolves, he didn't hesitate. He ran. What he found froze his blood. A young woman, clearly blind by the way her eyes failed to follow motion, stood backed against a tree, clutching a useless branch, while 5 timber wolves circled for the kill. Koda's bow was already drawn before thought caught up with instinct. His arrow dropped the alpha cleanly. Seconds later, the other warriors arrived, driving the remaining wolves away with arrows and force. When the forest fell quiet again, Koda approached slowly. She was shaking uncontrollably, tears streaking her face. You're safe, he said again. I have you. She reached up, touching his face. It struck him as strange until he realized she was blind. She was trying to see him the only way she could. After calming her and giving his name, Koda lifted her gently into his arms. She weighed almost nothing, far too light. My horse is close, he told the others in Apache. I'm taking her back to the village. This wasn't an accident. Someone left her here to die. The eldest warrior. Tarek frowned. What makes you sure? Look, Koda said, nodding toward the ground. 2 sets of tracks. One came back alone. And her shoes good leather. Barely worn. She didn't wander out here. Someone brought her. White people's trouble brings danger, Tarek warned. Leaving her to die brings worse, Koda replied. She comes with us. The ride to camp took half an hour. The woman Mae, she'd whispered her name, clung to Koda's waist, her forehead pressed to his back. She didn't speak. She just trembled. Koda's mother, Aylin, was grinding corn outside their lodge when they arrived. One look at Mae and her instincts took over. Inside. Now. What happened? Wolves, Koda said, laying Mae gently on a bed of furs. An abandonment. She needs water, food, warmth. Aylin moved quickly, bringing water, checking for wounds, wrapping Mae in a thick blanket. Mae drank gratefully, her hands shaking so badly. Aylin steadied the cup. Thank you, Mae whispered. Thank you so much. You're safe here, Aylin said softly in English, a language she had learned years earlier. No one will hurt you. Mae's face crumpled. My cousin Ruth, she brought me into the forest. Said she was teaching me to walk alone, but she led me somewhere unfamiliar and left me. She wanted me dead. Rage flared hot in Koda's chest. Why would she do that? Mae hesitated, then explained brokenly about the inheritance, about turning 21 in 2 weeks, about the land. Mae Calder said quietly. If Ruth loses control of it, she loses everything. If I die before my birthday, the property goes to her. I'm the obstacle. And the man, Koda asked carefully. You mentioned there was someone else. Mae's expression darkened. Elias Boone. I thought we were going to be married. But Ruth took him from me, made him believe he loved her instead. She swallowed. I don't know how she did it. He looked at me like I was a stranger. Aylin and Koda exchanged a glance. Aylin spoke first. Some white people use medicines to cloud the mind, she said. Opium, laudanum. They make memories fade. They make lies feel real. This Ruth, she sounds capable of such things. Mae's eyes widened. You think she drugged him? I think your cousin is a dangerous woman who wants what belongs to you, Aylin replied plainly. And if she learns you survived, she will try to kill you again. Then I can't go back, Mae whispered. I have nowhere to go, no family, no home. Not nothing, Koda said. Mae turned her face toward his voice. I can't stay, she said softly. I'm a burden. You saved my life and I'm grateful, but I can't ask you for more. You're not asking, Koda replied. I'm offering. Stay with us, at least until after your birthday, until it's safe for you to claim what's yours. Why, Mae asked, her voice breaking. Why would you help me? You don't even know me. Koda crouched in front of her, lowering himself so their faces were level. Because you fought 5 wolves with a stick. Because you lived when you were meant to die. Because you deserve better than what you were given. Mae covered her face and began to cry, not from grief, but from relief. From the sudden overwhelming feeling of being seen as worth saving for the first time in 7 years. Aylin gently guided Koda out of the lodge. Give her time, she said. She needs rest. Outside Nakoa, the chief waited. Tall and imposing silver, streaking his dark hair, he studied his son closely. I hear you brought home a white woman, he said. A blind white woman, her own family left to die, Koda corrected. She stays, at least for now. Nakoa searched his son's face. You feel strongly about this? I do. Then she stays, Nakoa said. But be careful. The troubles of white people tend to spread. I know, Father, Koda replied. As he walked away, Koda realized he didn't truly care about the danger. There was something about Mae's courage, her quiet dignity in the face of cruelty, that had reached deep inside him. He didn't know it yet, but he was already falling in love. Mae remained with the Apache, and to everyone's surprise, she began to thrive. Within a week, she learned to move through the camp by sound and touch alone. She memorized the number of steps between lodges, the textures of each path, the distinct crackle of every family's cook fire. Aylin started teaching her medicine. Mae's heightened senses made her a natural. She identified herbs by scent, felt subtle differences between plants that looked identical. She learned basket weaving by touch, her fingers growing faster and more precise each day. She also learned the Apache language. Mae had always been gifted with words, and her blindness made her an exceptional listener. Within a month, she could hold simple conversations. Within 2 months, she was helping Aylin teach the children. The tribe, wary at first, slowly accepted her. The children loved her most because she played games that didn't require sight-listening games, memory games, games of touch. But it was Koda who truly helped Mae heal. He came every day bringing small wonders from the land, smooth stones, wildflowers, leaves with unfamiliar textures. He described sunsets so vividly she could almost see them, spoke of eagles riding the wind deer at the streamlight spilling across the mountains. He held her hand when she was overwhelmed. He made her laugh when hope felt distant. And for the first time in years, Mae felt valued, not pitied, but valued. 3 months after the day she was saved, Koda found her standing by the stream. Her feet rested in the cold stream water slipping over her ankles. Her face tilted toward the warmth of the sun. Mae, Koda said quietly as he sat beside her. Koda. She smiled. She always knew his steps. Did you bring me something interesting today? Yes. He took her hand and pressed something smooth and rounded into her palm. A river stone. Feel it. Mae traced it slowly with her fingers. It was perfectly worn, shaped by water over countless years. It's beautiful. Like you. Her breath caught. Koda. I need to tell you something. He said, his voice suddenly serious. These past 3 months, watching you grow, watching you become part of our people, you are not a burden. You are not helpless. You are strong, brave, kind. You notice things people with sight overlook. You see the truth in people, the heart of things. I'm blind, Mae whispered. You see more than I do, Koda replied firmly. You see with your hands, your ears, your heart. That isn't weakness. It's a gift. Tears welled in her eyes. Koda, I love you. He answered without hesitation. I know it's fast. I know we come from different worlds. But I love you too. And if you'll have me, I want to marry you. I want you to stay not as a guest, but as my wife, as my family. Mae turned toward him, lifting her hands to his face, learning his features by touch, his cheeks, his jaw, the shape of his mouth. You truly mean this? She asked softly. You're not just being kind. I'm being honest. Mae Calder. Will you marry me? She thought of Elias Boone, who had promised love and been so easily twisted. She thought of Ruth Calder, who smiled while planning her death. And she thought of Koda, who had run toward danger to save her, who saw her worth when no one else had, who loved her not, despite her blindness, but fully including it. Yes, she said. Yes, Koda, I'll marry you. He gathered her into his arms, and for the first time Mae understood what it meant to be chosen, to be wanted, to be loved without conditions. They married a week later in an Apache ceremony. Mae could not see but felt in every part of her being the heat of the fire, the rhythm of drums and voices. Koda's hands holding hers, Aylin's quiet tears of joy. For the first time since losing her sight, Mae felt whole. But peace never lasts when cruelty still has unfinished business. 2 months into Mae's marriage to Koda, the past came for her. She was helping Aylin prepare medicine when unfamiliar sounds reached her ears. Horses, many of them, and English voices. Koda, Aylin called. We have visitors. Koda stepped out of the lodgecloth, still in his hands from cleaning his weapons. His expression hardened instantly. A sheriff identified by his badge, a lawyer carrying an expensive leather case, and 2 voices that made Mae's blood run cold. My stars, Mae. You're alive. Ruth. Mae's hands curled into fists. She turned her head sharply. Aylin. That's her. That's Ruth. Aylin moved in front of Mae at once. State your business, he said coldly in English. Sheriff Cole Wyatt, the man replied. We're looking for Mae Calder. We were told she might be here. If she is, she must come with us. There are legal matters to resolve. Ruth stepped forward, her voice dripping with false concern. Mae, thank heavens. I thought you were dead. I searched for days. The wolves. I found pieces of your dress. You left me to die, Mae said, her voice shaking with fury. You led me into an unfamiliar part of the forest and abandoned me. That's not true, Ruth replied smoothly. I went for water. When I came back, you were gone. I called for you for hours. Liar. Mae took a step forward, but Aylin's hand rested firmly on her shoulder. Easy, he murmured. Let her speak, Koda said quietly. Let her show who she really is. The sheriff shifted uneasily. Miss Calder, your cousin has been deeply concerned. She claims you've been missing for months. I wasn't missing, Mae Calder said firmly. I was here, alive, safe, in spite of her. Mae is confused, Ruth Calder said softly, pressing a dry handkerchief to her eyes. The trauma of being lost, attacked, it's damaged her judgment. My mind is clear, Mae snapped. The lawyer cleared his throat. Miss Calder, regardless of personal disputes, there is a legal issue. You turned 21 3 weeks ago. Your inheritance must now be formally claimed, or it will be forfeited. Mae's stomach dropped. In the peace of her new life with Koda, she had forgotten her birthday entirely. I claim it, she said quickly. The land is mine. I claim it. Very well, the lawyer said, opening his briefcase. However, there is a complication. You are currently residing with, his eyes flicked toward Koda, with open disdain, natives. That raises serious concerns about your competence to manage valuable property. I am competent, Mae said sharply. She's living with savages, Ruth cried. She's been influenced. Look at her. She dresses like them. Mae was wearing soft, worn deerskin clothing Aylin had sewn for her, far more comfortable than the stiff dresses of her former life. What I wear has nothing to do with my mind, Mae said. Miss Calder. Sheriff Cole Wyatt interjected, attempting calm. Your cousin has filed a petition with the court. Given your blindness and your current living situation, the judge has ordered a competency evaluation. A what? Mae asked. You'll be kept in town under supervision, the lawyer explained, until the evaluation is complete. If you're declared competent, you inherit. If not, your legal guardian continues control. She is not my guardian, Mae protested. I'm 21. I'm married. Ruth's eyebrows lifted. Married? She gestured toward Koda. To him. That isn't a lawful marriage, Ruth said coolly. You can't marry a savage. Koda's jaw tightened, but he said nothing, letting Mae stand her ground. By Apache law, Mae began. Apache law has no standing in a white court, the lawyer cut in. Legally, you are unmarried, blind, and living among natives. The court orders you to return to town for evaluation. And if I refuse, Mae asked quietly, then you forfeit your inheritance. Your cousin, as next of kin, inherits everything. The trap snapped shut. If Mae stayed, she lost her parents' land. If she went, she placed herself back in Ruth's reach. I'll go, Mae said at last, but only for the evaluation. After that, I'm coming back here. Of course, dear, Ruth said sweetly. We only want what's best for you. Koda pulled Mae aside. Don't do this. It's a trap. I know, Mae whispered. But if I don't go, I lose everything my parents left me. I have to try. Then I'm going with you. You can't. They'll say you're influencing me. I have to face this alone. She reached up, touching his face gently. I'll be fine. It's only 2 weeks. Koda looked past her at Ruth's satisfied smile, the sheriff's unease, the lawyer's cold calculation. She can do a lot in 2 weeks, he said grimly. And I don't trust her not to try. But Mae had decided. 2 hours later, she was mounted on a horse heading back toward the town she had fled months earlier. She didn't see Koda watching her leave, dread heavy in his chest. She didn't see Ruth's victorious smile when the sheriff looked away, but she would soon learn Ruth still held one final card. A last terrible move, one that would either destroy Mae forever or collapse back on Ruth in spectacular ruin. Mae was taken to the town orphanage, a bleak place reeking of boiled cabbage and hopelessness. For your protection, Judge Henry Collins had ordered until your mental state can be properly assessed. Mae was given a small room on the 2nd floor, and the door closed behind her. Mae learned the room by heart within hours. 8 steps from the door to the window, 5 to the narrow bed. 3 to the wash basin. She mapped every inch of it in her mind. Each day, doctors arrived to examine her. Their questions were never neutral. They were traps. Can you dress yourself without assistance? Yes. Can you prepare food? Yes. Can you manage financial matters? I can learn, Mae answered. But you can't see numbers, one doctor pressed. You can't read contracts. You can't verify what you're signing. Mae clenched her jaw. I can have someone I trust read them to me. Your Apache companions, the doctor said, his tone edged with mockery. Miss Calder, you understand that depending on natives makes you vulnerable to manipulation. More vulnerable than trusting family who tried to murder me, Mae shot back. The doctor's pen scratched across the page. Paranoid delusions regarding family, he murmured. Noted. It continued like that for 3 days. Every response Mae gave was twisted, recorded as proof that she was unfit. On the 4th night, she heard the faint creak of her door opening. Mae sat upright at once. Who's there? It's me. Ruth. Mae's heart slammed against her ribs. What are you doing here? You're not allowed. The guards know me, Ruth Calder said calmly. All sweetness gone. I bring them wine every evening. Good wine. Costly wine. What do you want? Ruth closed the door. Mae heard the lock slide home. We need to talk about Elias Boone. Mae's breath caught. What about him? He's dying, Ruth said flatly. I misjudged the dosage. His body is failing. He might have a week left. Mae felt nausea rise. You're killing him. It was never meant to go this far, Ruth replied. But he became dependent. When I tried to stop, he grew violent. And now she sighed theatrically. Now it's too late. Unless, Mae whispered. Unless you help me. Mae heard something placed beside her bed, a bottle by the sound of it. There's an antidote, Ruth said. A compound that can reverse the damage. But the doctor who prepares it won't sell to me. He might sell to you. I don't understand. It's very simple, Ruth said. Tomorrow morning you drink what's in this bottle. She tapped it lightly. A sedative. Strong enough to leave you disoriented. Confused. The doctors will declare you incompetent. You'll sign over your inheritance to me as your legal guardian. And if I refuse, then Elias dies. Ruth's voice hardened. And I'll tell the judge you attacked me tonight, that you're violently unstable. You'll be committed to an asylum for the rest of your life. Mae's hands trembled. You can't do this. I already have, Ruth said coolly. The guards will testify. They'll say they saw you strike me. I'll have bruises by morning. She paused, then added softly. And there's something else. Mae's blood turned cold. That Apache who rescued you, Koda. I hear he's the chief's son. Important. It would be unfortunate if soldiers were sent to arrest him for kidnapping a white woman. Charges like that can start wars, Ruth continued. The authorities won't hesitate. The threat was unmistakable. Drink the bottle, Ruth said. It isn't poison, just enough to make you appear unwell. Tomorrow you fail the evaluation. You sign the papers, and I give you the antidote for Elias. She smiled faintly. Everyone wins. Except me, Mae said. Ruth shrugged. You were never going to manage a farm anyway. At least, this way Elias lives. She moved toward the door. Don't think too long. He doesn't have much time left. The lock clicked shut behind her. Mae sat alone in the darkness, her thoughts racing. She could drink the sedative, lose everything, and maybe save Elias. Or she could refuse and watch innocent people suffer because of her. It was no choice at all. With shaking hands, Mae found the bottle and pulled the cork free. The smell was sharp and bitter, heavy with medicine. Mae thought of Koda, of the life they had built, of the peace she had finally known. I'm sorry, she whispered into the darkness. I'm so sorry. She drank. The liquid scorched her throat. Almost at once, the room tilted. Her thoughts slowed, thick and tangled. She tried to rise to call out, but her legs failed her. She crumpled onto the bed, the bottle slipping from her numb fingers. The last sound she heard before the darkness closed in was Ruth Calder's laughter echoing down the hall. Koda could not sleep. For 4 days, he paced the edge of the camp, his instincts screaming that something was terribly wrong. His father had forbidden him to go into town. "We can't provoke the whites right now," Nakoa had warned. But Koda's restraint was gone. On the 4th night, he made his choice. "I'm going," he told his father. "You'll start a war," Nakoa said. "I'll start a war if Mae dies because I did nothing." Koda rode through the night, reaching town just before dawn. The orphanage was easy to find, too easy. A grim building crouched at the town's edge, poorly guarded. Koda circled it, searching for Mae's window. Then he heard it. A faint sound so slight most men would have missed it. Gasping, choking, he scaled the wall with practiced ease, forced the window open, and climbed inside. Mae lay on the bed, her body convulsing. Foam clung to her lips. An empty bottle lay shattered on the floor. Mae Koda breathed, gathering her into his arms. She burned with fever. Her breath came shallow and uneven. He didn't hesitate. He didn't ask permission. He went back out the window with Mae in his arms and ran for his horse. There was only one doctor in town who would treat natives, Samuel Reed, a Chinese immigrant, trained in San Francisco. Koda kicked in his door. "Help her," he demanded. "Please." Samuel Reed took one look at Mae and moved instantly. "Put her on the table." "What did she take? I don't know." "There was a bottle." "Did you bring it?" Koda swore. "No." Samuel Reed leaned close, smelled. Mae's breath checked her pupils, pressed fingers to her pulse. "Belladonna," he said sharply. "Mixed with something else. Very dangerous. Hold her." The next 2 hours were hell. Samuel Reed forced activated charcoal down Mae's throat, administered herbs to induce vomiting, packed cold cloths around her to break the fever. Koda never let go of her hand. He whispered to her in Apache again and again, "Stay with me. Please stay with me. I can't lose you. Not like this." As the sun finally crept over the horizon, Mae's convulsions slowed. Her breathing evened. The fever broke. "She'll live," Samuel Reed said, wiping sweat from his brow. "But barely. Another hour and she would have been gone." "What was it?" Koda asked. "Belladonna, no doubt. Causes confusion. Hallucinations, seizures. Mixed to make it stronger. Someone wanted her to appear insane." Koda's hands curled into fists. "Her cousin." "Most likely," Samuel Reed said. "Proving it will be harder." Mae stirred. Her eyes fluttered open. "Koda," she whispered. "I'm here," he said, squeezing her hand. "Elias," she murmured. "Ruth said. She said he was dying. That she'd give me the antidote if I drank the poison." "Elias is alive," Koda said gently. "I checked. He's sick and confused but alive." Ruth lied. Mae's face crumpled. "She tricked me. Again." "No," Koda said firmly. "She tried to. But you survived." And now he continued quietly. "We're going to end this." "How?" Mae asked weakly. "I failed the evaluation. They think I'm insane." "She's already won." "Not yet," Koda replied. "The judge hasn't ruled. When tomorrow?" Mae pushed herself upright, trembling. "Then we have 1 day." "1 day," Koda agreed. "You'll tell the truth. All of it. And I'll make sure they believe you." Samuel Reed cleared his throat. "I'll testify," he said. "About the poisoning. The fight wasn't over. It was just beginning." "Belladonna alone should raise questions," Samuel Reed said quietly. "It won't be enough." Mae Calder replied, despair creeping into her voice. "They'll say I poisoned myself, that I'm unstable." "Then we need stronger proof," Koda said. He turned to Samuel Reed. "You said someone wanted her to appear insane. Who benefits from that?" Ruth Calder. Samuel Reed answered without hesitation. "If Mae is declared incompetent, Ruth inherits everything. And if Elias Boone dies while still under Ruth's care, Koda added slowly, who inherits his land? Mae gasped. She does. She's listed as his fiancée, which means, Koda continued, Ruth gains 2 properties, yours and his. All she has to do is have you declared unfit and wait for Elias to die from the drugs she's been giving him. But we can't prove she drugged Elias, Mae said weakly. Can we? Samuel Reed allowed himself a thin smile. Perhaps we can. If I examine him, I can test his blood. Laudanum leaves traces. And if we prove Ruth has been poisoning Elias, Koda said, then her story collapses. She's not a concerned cousin. She's a murderer. For the first time in days, hope stirred in Mae's chest. We do this tomorrow, Koda said. At the hearing. In front of everyone. She'll fight, Mae warned. Let her, Koda replied. The competency hearing was held in the town courthouse, a stifling room that smelled of old paper and desperation. Mae sat at the front, Koda beside her. Samuel Reed waited just behind them, prepared to testify. Ruth arrived dressed in black, elegant and sorrowful, as if already mourning the inheritance. She believed lost. At her side stood Walter Pike, her lawyer, briefcase in hand. The judge, a heavy-set man named Henry Collins, brought the room to order. We are here to determine the mental competency of Miss Mae Calder, he announced. She turned 21 3 weeks ago and is entitled to inherit her parents' estate. Concerns have been raised regarding her ability to manage said estate due to her blindness and recent conduct. Your Honor, Walter Pike rose. We have extensive evidence of Miss Calder's incompetence. She abandoned her home to live among savages. She became involved with an Apache man who clearly exerts undue influence over her. And most alarming, she attempted to poison herself 4 nights ago. That's a lie, Mae said sharply. Order, Judge Collins snapped, striking the gavel. Koda stood. Your Honor, may I speak? You have no standing, the judge replied. Then grant it, Koda said. I witnessed what truly happened. The judge hesitated, then nodded. Very well. Be brief. Koda described finding Mae, convulsing the empty bottle, the desperate ride to Samuel Reed's clinic. She did not poison herself, Koda said firmly. She was poisoned by someone else. Absurd, Ruth exclaimed. Who would do such a thing? You, Mae said, rising to her feet. Her voice was calm, unshaken. You brought me the bottle. You told me to drink it. You said if I refused, Elias would die and I'd be committed. That's ridiculous, Ruth snapped, but fear flickered beneath her composure. Your Honor. Samuel Reed stood. I examined Miss Calder. The poison was belladonna, a substance that causes hallucinations and confusion. It is highly regulated. Few people have access to it. Are you implying her cousin poisoned her? Judge Collins asked skeptically. I'm stating that someone did, Samuel Reed replied, and that person stands to gain significantly if Miss Calder is declared incompetent. Ruth gains nothing. Walter Pike objected. She only wants what's best for her cousin. Does she? Mae asked quietly. She reached into her pocket and withdrew an object wrapped in cloth. Carefully, she unfolded it. Inside lay the bottle. This, Mae said, has Ruth Calder's fingerprints on it, and if its contents are tested, you'll find belladonna, the same substance that nearly killed me. Ruth's face drained of color. I don't know how that got there. Mae must have planted it. I'm blind, Mae said flatly. How would I plant evidence? Your Apache husband did it, Ruth shot back. He's trying to turn you against your family. The room fell silent. My family. Mae Calder said, her voice rising with raw force, tried to kill me, twice. First by abandoning me in a forest crawling with wolves. Then by poisoning me. She turned toward the courtroom, unable to see a single face. And do you want to know the cruelest part? She continued. I hear everything. I always have. A hush fell. When you visited Elias Boone, Ruth Calder. I heard you. I heard the clink of the bottle when you poured laudanum into his tea. I heard you whisper to him, feeding him thighs, bending his thoughts. I heard every word. The room burst into murmurs. Order. Judge Henry Collins shouted, slamming his gavel. She's lying. Ruth screamed. Then test it, Mae said calmly. She faced the judge. Your Honor, I request that Elias Boone be brought here and examined by Dr. Samuel Reed. If his blood contains laudanum and if Ruth is the only one who's been preparing his food and drink, the truth will be undeniable. This is outrageous, Walter Pike protested. Actually, Judge Collins cut in. It's a reasonable request. Bring Mr. Boone here immediately. Have the town doctor examine him. Ruth rose abruptly. Your Honor, I feel unwell. I must leave. Sit down, Miss Calder, the judge said coldly. You are not leaving until this court reaches a conclusion. An hour later, Elias Boone was escorted into the courtroom. He looked frail, ashen skin, trembling hands, eyes unfocused. Mae, he asked weakly. Is that Mae? It's me, Mae said softly. I don't remember things clearly, Elias murmured. Everything feels foggy. Ruth says we're engaged, but I don't remember asking her. I remember you. I remember loving you. Then everything went wrong. That's the laudanum, Samuel Reed said. He examined Elias swiftly, drew blood, and worked silently with his instruments. After several minutes, he straightened. It's conclusive. His blood contains dangerously high levels of laudanum. He's been dosed regularly for months. If it continues, he'll be dead within weeks. Gasps filled the courtroom. Mr. Boone, Judge, Collins asked who has been preparing your meals and drinks. Ruth, Elias said slowly, clarity returning to his eyes. She comes every day, brings me tea, says it helps my headaches. But the headaches only started after I began drinking it. Every gaze turned to Ruth. She stood frozen, panic carved into her face. This is all lies, she screamed. Mae manipulated them. She's not even competent. On the contrary, Judge Collins interrupted sharply. She is exceptionally competent. Competent enough to notice what others ignored. Competent enough to survive repeated murder attempts. And competent enough to expose you. He turned to the bailiff. Arrest Ruth Calder on charges of attempted murder, fraud, and poisoning. No, Ruth shrieked, lunging for the door. The bailiff caught her, instantly twisting her arms behind her back. You can't do this, she screamed. The property is mine. She doesn't deserve it. She's blind. She's useless. She is brave, the judge said quietly. And she is far better than you will ever be. He faced Mae. Miss Mae Calder, I declare you fully competent. You inherit your parents' estate effective immediately. Furthermore, I recommend Ruth Calder be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Mae felt Koda's hand close around hers. She held on, tears streaming freely. What about Elias, she asked. He will remain under medical care until the laudanum is fully out of his system, the judge replied. With time and treatment, he should recover. Elias looked toward Mae, clarity finally settling in his eyes. I'm so sorry, he said. I didn't know what she was doing. I know, Mae said gently. Just focus on healing. As Ruth was dragged from the courtroom, still screaming, Mae finally exhaled. Is it over? She asked Koda. It is, he said. You won. We won, Mae corrected. They learned to weave, to plant gardens, to cook, to move through space, guided by sound and touch. Apache children and white children studied side by side, taught by Mae Calder and the teachers she had carefully chosen. In a territory long shaped by fear and bloodshed, the school stood as something unheard of, a place where cultures worked together instead of tearing each other apart. Koda divided his days between the school and his responsibilities among his people. He had been formally named his father's successor and would one day lead the tribe, but for now he found purpose helping Mae build something lasting. On a warm spring morning, Mae stood in the garden, her hands resting on her rounded belly. She was 8 months along now, slower in her steps, but glowing with quiet joy. "Mama," a small voice called. Mae turned toward the sound. "Yes, sweetheart." A little girl ran toward her and wrapped her arms around Mae's legs. "Lily Moore. Moore, 6 years old, blind since birth." "I made a whole basket by myself," Lily said proudly. "Teacher Aylin said it was perfect." Mae lowered herself carefully. "That's wonderful. May I feel it?" Lily placed the basket in her hands. Mae traced the weave with her fingers, feeling the tight, even pattern. "This is beautiful work," Mae said warmly. "You should be very proud." "I am," Lily said, grinning. "I'm going to make one for everyone." As the girl ran off, Mae smiled. This was what she had fought for, a place where blindness did not mean helplessness, where children learned their worth was not measured by what they lacked. "You look peaceful," Aylin said, stepping beside her. "I am?" Mae replied, reaching for his hand. "I was thinking about Ruth Calder, about how she believed my blindness made me useless, and how wrong she was." She paused. "Being blind taught me how to truly listen. It taught me to hear truth in people's voices. It taught me that limits can become strengths if you learn to work with them instead of fighting them." Aylin smiled softly. "Wise words, my love. I learned them from you," Mae said. A new sound reached her ears, hoofbeats. Then a familiar voice. "Mae. Mae Hart. I mean Mae." Mae laughed. "You can just call me Mae Elias Boone." Elias had fully recovered from the laudanum poisoning. He had also married a kind woman, Abigail Reed, who ran the town library. Together they had become regular visitors to the school. "I brought books," Elias said as he dismounted. "Abigail thought the children would enjoy them. And I wanted to thank you again." "You don't need to," Mae replied. "Yes, I do," Elias said earnestly. "You saved my life. Even after everything that happened, you still saved me." "You were a victim too," Mae said gently. "Just like I was." After Elias left, Mae and Koda walked slowly through the school grounds. Mae knew every path by memory now, the garden where children learned plants by scent and texture, the weaving house filled with steady hands and quiet pride, the kitchen warm with learning and laughter. "Do you ever regret it?" Koda asked softly. "Choosing this instead of a traditional farm?" Mae rested a hand on her belly, feeling their baby move. "Not for a moment. This is exactly where I belong." She turned toward him and reached up to touch his face. "You saved my life in that forest. But this school, this community, this family, this is what gave my life meaning. Our child will be born into something special," Koda said, covering her hand with his own. "A better world," Mae replied. "One where being different isn't as a weakness. Where blind children know they matter. Where Apache and white stand side by side." "We're building something that will outlast us," Koda said. "Yes," Mae answered. "We are." That evening, as the sun sank low, Mae gathered the children for their lesson. She could not see the colors in the sky, but she felt the warmth on her face. "Tonight," she said, "we're going to talk about courage." The children grew quiet. Real courage isn't about feeling no fear. It's about being afraid and doing what must be done anyway. "Were you scared when the wolves came?" Lily asked. Mae nodded. "Terrified. I couldn't see them. I could only hear them. I was certain I was going to die." "But you didn't," Lily said. "No," Mae replied softly. "Because someone braver than me ran toward danger to save me." She let the silence settle. "And that taught me something important. We're not meant to face our fears alone. We're meant to help one another." Mae smiled toward the sound of her students' voices, toward the teachers guiding them patiently, toward Koda standing quietly in the doorway watching her with pride. "Being blind doesn't make you weak," Mae said steadily. "Being deaf doesn't make you less. Being different doesn't mean you're broken." She let the words settle. "What gives you strength is how you meet the world with what you have. And what gives you worth is how you help others face their own struggles." A pause, then, a boy's voice from the back. What happened to the bad cousin? The one who tried to kill you? She's in prison, Mae answered calmly, and she'll be there for a long time. She took a breath. And I feel sorry for her. The children grew quiet. She spent her entire life staring at what other people had. She was so consumed by jealousy that she never learned how to build something of her own. And that, Mae said softly, is the saddest kind of life. One wasted on bitterness. Later that night, after the children had gone to sleep and Koda had stepped away to check the horses, Mae stood alone in the garden. She thought about the girl she once was afraid. Dependent, convinced she had no value because she could not see. Then she thought of the woman she had become, strong, self-reliant, creating something that mattered. Thank you, she whispered into the dark, for Koda, for this life, for learning that sometimes losing one thing opens the door to finding everything else. Her baby kicked sharply, and Mae laughed. You're going to love it here, she murmured, resting her hand on her belly. You'll grow up in a world where people are valued for who they are, not for what they can or can't do. And you'll have a mother who finally understands this, she added quietly. She's not defined by her limitations. She's defined by how she turns them into strengths. Inside the house, Aylin was preparing dinner. The scent of warm bread and roasted meat drifted through the evening air. Laughter echoed softly from the children's dormitory. Life moved all around her, untidy, beautiful and real. Mae had been abandoned, twice betrayed by family, poisoned by envy. She had lost her sight and nearly lost everything else. But she had also been saved, loved, given another chance. And as she stood in the garden of the school she had built with her husband's child growing inside her, and the voices of children learning their worth all around her, Mae Calder finally understood what it meant to truly see, not with her eyes but with her heart. Not in spite of her blindness, but because of everything it had taught her. She was blind, yes, but she saw more clearly than most ever would. And that was the greatest gift of all. If this story moved you, tap the like button and tell us in the comments which moment touched you most. Was it Koda racing toward the wolves, the courtroom reckoning with Ruth Calder, or the school Mae built for blind children? Don't miss the next story, because every tale of survival and justice reminds us that sometimes the people who try to destroy us are the very ones who give us the strength to become who we were always meant to be. All stories are created for entertainment purposes, and may include fictional elements or dramatized interpretations inspired by historical settings. We use AI tools, voiceover visuals, scripts as creative assistants. However, all content is reviewed, refined, and edited by humans to ensure emotional authenticity and storytelling quality. We fully comply with YouTube's policies regarding AI-generated content and do not use any deepfake techniques or misleading recreations of real individuals. All visuals and supporting materials are properly licensed. Sharing, re-uploading, modifying, or distributing any part of this content in any form requires written permission. We appreciate your support and respect for original creative work.